At Direct Service Garage Doors, we are your one-stop shop for all things garage door. From garage door repair and broken spring replacement to new garage doors and openers, we do it all. We're proud to be among the highest-rated local garage door companies in all of Central Arkansas. Our highly trained technicians are available 24 hours a day at no extra cost to you. So if you have an emergency, call us today, 501-244-3667, or visit our website at directserviceoverhead.com. Don't wait days. We'll fix it now.
This Razorback team stepped up big time.
Let's go, man.
Oh, yeah. You deserve to take your shirt off. Hey. You deserve to take, because they could have easily folded in when Kansas made their run in the second half. But the line. That was led by Devo Davis. The little things. A lot of.
All right, this is it. We're doing this. We're doing the pick. We're no changies, no takesies, backsies in this one. Okay? Let's go. 3, 2, 1. Yo, what's going on? Welcome everybody to the preview show. Arkansas taking on UConn. The studio light. You guys, I'm going to call him Howard. Howard is trying to fall right on top of me here. Welcome. Sweet 16 show. Preview. Again, Huskies taking on Razorbacks. Oh, man. I would almost pay to be in another bracket. This is a very, 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 very interesting matchup, a tough matchup, but it's one that, Arkansas is going to have to pull out all stops. All stops to get the dub. Okay, welcome. Thanks for the shares. I appreciate that, Haas. Thank you, sir. You're a gentleman and a scholar. Like, share, subscribe if you're new here. Welcome. Not a ton to talk about other than just this matchup. So I'm not time-stamping this at all. Not time-stamping it. We're just going to go. However long this show is, we're going to go. $10 super chat. Defend the three. Stay out of foul trouble. And we are golden tomorrow evening. Kamani said it best. They're going there to get 2 more wins. Go Hogs. Shout out to Patreon supporters. You guys, look at you. Oh, my goodness. I hope we have people stick it out, because if we do, we're at 50 people. For the first time ever, we'll be at 50 total Patreon supporters. So shout out to you guys. Again, if you have any questions or comments, fire away in live chat. Well, we're rocking and rolling. You guys are pretty pumped here. We've got our odd soul poll. Hogs advanced to the Elite Eight. To Elite Eight. Probably should have. Can I edit that? To the Elite Eight. To Elite Eight. No, all I can do is end it. It just says Hogs advanced to Elite Eight. Whatever. 76% of you say yes. 24% of you say no. So go take the poll. If you're just joining, if you catch the live and we're still live but you're behind, take the poll first before you do anything else. I'm so incredibly hyped, man. I have a really, really good feeling about it. Pigpen, after the Kansas dub, we feel bulletproof. What's up, Ty? Good morning. What's going on, Montario Knight? How you doing? How you doing? All right. Odd Soul, they are one of our sponsors. Appreciate them. They have, they are the craft bar and pizzeria, right? Calzones, terrific, I've been told. Never had them. I've had their pies. I've not had a pie there that I don't like. And they've got everything on tap. Local IPAs, you name it, man. They've got it on tap for you. Great service. Great environment. The Odd Soul, located on Emma Street here in Springdale. I remember when you were so hyped about reaching 20 Patreon members. Yeah, I know, right? We've come so far, man. I don't want to get scolded by someone in chat. I've already been scolded about going on about my Patreon supporters. It's so funny I'm going to give, I'm going to give props to my Patreon supporters, man. I'm not able to do what I'm able to do without sponsors and without Patreon supporters, right? What's up, Ty? Hog 75, UConn 68. I like that score. Hope all's well, Jeremy. I dreamed about us in the Elite Eight last night for what it's worth. Oh, then it's happening, Anthony. It's happening. It's going down. It's happening. Anthony dreamed about us get into the Elite Eight. It's done. It's done. It's over with. Just hang them up now, UConn. The Hogs are coming, and Anthony had a premonition. Oh, my goodness. There's Connor McGrail. I think Connor's our UConn fan, right? He was very cordial, so you guys be cool. I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, Connor. Were you the UConn fan? Sometimes names will stick. Sometimes they stick. Not always. Screenshot the receipts. Screenshots the receipts. Screenshots them receipts. Better do it. Well, I mean, let's listen. We'll start off with baseball here really quick. Okay, they did something pretty cool, something they haven't done in 27 years. This is from well, hang on. Where is this from? Where did I read this at? Let's see. Was this Best of Arkansas Sports? I think it was. From Andrew Hutchinson from Best of Arkansas Sports in his latest article. 27 years since last time the Razorbacks had this kind of a streak. Despite using a lineup that featured 6 players who didn't start over the weekend, Arkansas extended its winning streak to 14 games, its longest within a single season in 27 years, when it opened up in 96 with 18 straight wins. My God, I was in 6th grade, 7th grade. I was either at Jefferson Elementary in Fayetteville or Ramey Junior High. Good Lord. That doesn't seem right, you know? Now, look, Andrew does, he's really good at what he does. But that just doesn't seem right. You would think with the runs that they've had in recent years under Dave Van Horn, you'd think that they would have like a 15, 16 straight under their belt. But that's still impressive nonetheless. And again, Andrew knows what he's talking about. Pretty impressive. Very tough weekend game coming up for the Razorbacks, taking on LSU. Similar records, both 2-loss schools. I'm sure LSU is going to be favored to either sweep or take 2 out of 3 because this one's at LSU. That's going to be a series that people are going to tune into for sure. There's some good games this weekend, but Arkansas and LSU, that's going to be a fun one. So I'm pretty sure as long as you have, ESPN Plus or whatever, you should have access to the game. I may stream one of those games. I might. We're in a bit of a dilemma here in the Hudson household. We're down to one vehicle at the moment. My wife's Buick is in the body shop getting some work done. So I don't know how available I'm going to be, but no promises, right? Thank God this is spring break, but no idea how long we're going to be down to one car for a little while. We're going to go and we're going to try and pick up a rental, hopefully today or tomorrow. But if I'm available, I'm going to try and stream. I'd love to stream all 3 of those games in our Discord. No promises. But yeah, pretty good. I mean, they're hitting the hell out of the ball. They're doing really well, and it doesn't seem to matter who's at the plate. They're seeing that ball. It looks like a big orange volleyball to these guys right now coming across the plate. They're doing really good. Driving in runs. They're getting it done, man. They're doing all the things that matter to get these wins, and now you've got yourself a 14-game win streak. I don't know if the Razorbacks I don't know what to expect out of them in LSU. LSU, of course, killed it in the portal, killed it in high school recruiting. LSU baseball seems to be back, and they're proving it right now. But now you're getting into the thick of the SEC, right? Now you're getting into you've just swept Auburn, which nobody is shocked, right? I don't care what Auburn's record was. Nobody's shocked that Arkansas swept them inside Baum Stadium. I would have probably picked either a sweep or 2-1 Hogs, right? This weekend, man, I don't know. So we have an update for this week. I don't at the moment. Tomorrow night's postgame will be the last show for this week. Friday, I don't at the moment plan on doing a show. Things may change, or we may do something in Discord, right? We might do something in Discord that evening. But don't right now plan on any Friday show. So tomorrow's postgame show should be it on YouTube for the week. All right. Again, any questions or comments, fire away. We're getting into the thick of it. Aaron with another super chat. Us Patreon supporters love to be talked about. Well, I mean, it's funny to me that people complain about that. It's so bizarre. Like, they complain about my sponsor reads. Guys, that's how I'm able to provide you any kind of content. Whether you like the content or not, it's how I'm able to do it, right? Skip them. I don't know what to tell you. Skip the ads. Sometimes you're going to miss some good stuff. I kept that video I put together. I went ahead and played it again. I know a lot of you've already seen it, but I'll probably play it again at the end of the show too. I love the way it looks, sounds. Wagner's a damn monster. He has been fantastic. Do you feel the chemistry was affected by the number of shots Nick takes when he hits? All good, of course, but when he misses. But when you miss 20 times and you keep shooting, others may be getting salty at you. Well, we'll get to that here in just a second. Wilson says if we can hold them to 5 or fewer threes, get to the free throw line, make 75%, and keep them off the offensive glass. Well, that's a good point right there. We win. Have to do all three, though. Wilson, I agree 110%, man. I agree 110%. Tuss Talk with Ty is also sponsored by Apex Tattoo Studio, located at 201 South 19th Street, Sweet Pea in Rogers, Arkansas. Walk-ins are welcome. They're offering tap-out sessions for up to 1,000. Well, it's probably beyond 1,000. I'm not sure. They say 1K tap-out. But call. If you have any questions, give them a call. I had someone in Discord, I think it was yesterday, asking me about what they offer. So give them a call if you have any questions, 479-278-2694. Again, that's Apex Tattoo Studio in Rogers, Arkansas. Mention Tuss Talk with Ty, you get a discount. That's a pretty cool deal. And, of course, direct service overhead. They offer quality parts, affordable outcomes, hundreds of 5-star reviews, better than best results. Give them a call, 501-244-3667. Again, that's direct service overhead, the Garage Door Company. Travis Ford and the boys, they're killing it. Okay, we have something going on here in Discord. Trying not to get distracted. Our poll brought to you by the Odd Soul poll. Hogs advance to the Elite Eight. 77% of you say yes. 23% of you say no. Speaking of being talked about, I'm the Arkansas fan that Phil was talking about in the 6 yesterday that sent the picture of the drink on my head at Walmart. Oh, very cool. That's cool. All right. Well, here we go. Let's get into it. This is tough. This is a tough bracket. I've said this since the get-go. I think this is the toughest bracket. And I stand by that. And to be honest with you, it speaks volumes that Arkansas managed to get past KU. It took everything that team had to beat KU. And I will say, I don't think KU is one of the top 2 1 seeds in this postseason in the NCAA tournament. I don't. I felt like they were 3rd. Purdue was 4th. I kind of feel like Houston deserved to be the number 1 overall seed. We'll find out, man. They got to play a really tough Miami team. Bama's going to play San Diego State, a team that Arkansas beat earlier in the year. I get it. That might as well have been 3 years ago, but still, I mean, they beat that team, San Diego State. Alabama gets them. I fully believe Alabama. I mean, their road to the Final Four to me looks – I think they have a really easy go. And that's the advantage of being the 1 seed, right? That's the advantage. You play the 16 round 1. And then you wind up with that overachieving round 2, 8-seeded Maryland team. Some folks, Big Ten fans, felt like they shouldn't have even been a top 8 seed. They blanked them 73-51. They're going to play San Diego State. Listen, I'm not saying San Diego State can't upset Bama. I'm not saying that. I feel like, though, they're in the easiest bracket. San Diego State winning would probably surprise me. Nothing shocks me anymore. I'm telling you, as long as I've done this, absolutely nothing shocks me anymore. Nothing does. I mean, you've got Princeton and Creighton in the Sweet 16 playing to advance to the Elite 8. You've got the 15 and the 6 seed going on there. Who the hell saw that? Arizona getting knocked out by Princeton, the 2 seed. I mean, I had Arizona as my champs. I thought Arizona, despite out west where basketball is a kind of like football, just apparently these days doesn't mean much like it used to. But I thought Arizona and UCLA would crush. I really thought they would do well. UCLA is proving me right. Arizona in the first round gets knocked out by Princeton, and then Princeton gets past 7-seeded Mizzou. Remember how excited they were? They were ahead of us in seeding. So, yeah, I think Arkansas's got the toughest seeding. Over there in the East, you got Tennessee taking on FAU. FAU, I mean, listen, they beat Memphis, who I liked. I liked Memphis in that bracket. They got past them, and now FAU, they get past the team that upset Purdue. And now you got Tennessee and FAU playing to advance to the Elite 8. Kansas State, Michigan State, which honestly, I don't know what the hell to expect in that one. But I do think the best games in this Elite 8, Houston-Miami is an underrated game. Nothing would shock me there. Nothing would even surprise me there, right? Alabama I think they should just destroy San Diego State, but you just never know, right? But especially with those Nick Saban comments. Well, you kind of wonder if that doesn't, just maybe kind of make its way into the locker room a little bit. Like, wait, our own guy, Nick Saban said what? Wait, did he do the wrong thing? Should Nate Oates have at least suspended him to show, that they're taking the situation seriously and that they are a little bit remorseful, so they should have probably suspended Miller at least for a couple of games, but he didn't do that because winning is all that matters. Is my coach sus? You never know, man. I mean, I will say when all that stuff came out in February, shortly before they had to play Arkansas, Bama looked phased. They did. They barely beat, South Carolina. Struggled against Arkansas. Probably could have lost that game. Had a couple things just gone the Hogs' way there late. They looked a little rattled, so I don't know. You kind of wonder, maybe that San Diego State game might be one to watch, but I feel like Alabama should just stomp them. Should curb stomp them. But, yeah, again, going back to, I think this is the second biggest game between, UCLA and the Zags. That's the biggest Sweet 16 game in my opinion. It may not be full of shock and awe. It may be a pretty boring 2-half game. I don't know. Maybe UCLA just completely dominates. Maybe Gonzaga completely dominates, and it's not much of a game. But I feel like that is the biggest game in this tournament. For Arkansas fans, of course, it's UConn and Arkansas. I think it's the second biggest on all the matchups. But I don't know what to think of Princeton and Creighton. So this is a stressful game. It's tough. It's tough because UConn has bench. They have bench. I love Lamp. They have bench. These guys are deep, man. This is what worries you. They also have maybe the best player in this tournament right now in Adama Sanagu, who on the season, 17 points. I mean, the guy close to a double-double. At one point in the year, I think he was averaging at about a double-double or close to it. 17 points, 7.5 rebounds. He's an in-the-paint scorer, so he's about 61%. He's averaging close to just over an assist a game. Sanagu could completely take games over. He was the leading scorer and leading rebounder in, I think it was 7 games this year is what I counted. 7 times this year. He was the leading scorer and leading rebounder. Right? And I know Shibwe, like we could sit here and talk all day. We love that comparison between him and Shibwe. But Sanagu through the tournament, when it matters, has been really good. And he's not someone that early on in the year you heard a whole lot about. If I remember right, UConn, I'm not even sure UConn, I don't think they were ranked to start the season out. A lot of people kind of slept on UConn. They worked their way all the way up to number 2 in the country at one point. And Sanagu was a huge piece of that. They're currently 27-8. They finished 4th in the Big East, which I would argue the Big East probably top 3, top 4 among the Power 5. You know, Marquette, Xavier, Creighton, UConn, Providence, all, you know, tournament teams. Providence, who was a one and done, you can make the argument they probably shouldn't have. I mean, they got in with 21 wins, but the way the net rankings worked out this year, it liked the SEC, and considering who's in the Big East, it liked the Big East. But UConn finished on the second half of that on their power. You know, when you look at their standings and you know, game by game, month by month, they finished. You know, they started the year out hot. I think they started off 14-0. They were on fire. They beat Alabama 82-67, Iowa State 71-53, Oklahoma State 74-64. At Florida, they beat by 21 points. Florida, I know they weren't great, but that was before a certain big that Arkansas fans absolutely loved to hate before he got hurt. They went on the road and spanked Florida, who I thought at the time really the top 4 defensive team in the SEC. And then you come up to the part of their schedule where things got complicated, and it was the end of December going into January. This is where they just drop in rankings. December 31st, they lose on the road to Xavier, who at the time was 22nd. They lost by 10. They were 22nd in the country, 83-73. They lost to Providence. Again, a one and done, probably shouldn't have gone to the tournament. They lost to those guys. They beat Creighton, and then they lose 3 straight. Marquette, St. John's, and Seton Hall. They find a way. They beat Butler pretty easily, 86-56. That's an ass whooping. And then they lose to Xavier again. They get swept in the regular season by Xavier. And then February kind of turns the corner for them, but I would argue, yeah, but against who? That's what everyone's kind of banking on. I think it was a confidence builder for them. I think it's similar to what Arkansas seen in the past, where they've shown even in certain losses, they still felt pretty good, and it built their confidence up, and they went on to win a whole bunch of games. And they did that in February. They lost just 1 game in the month of February. The 4th, they beat Georgetown. They beat a top 10 ranked Marquette. Marquette was good this year. I know they were good during the regular season. They were certainly a top 10, top 15 team. They beat them by 87-72. They beat them by a little bit of a margin there. Went on the road to 23rd ranked Creighton. Remember, Creighton kind of turned the corner, right? They got healthy. They lost to Creighton by just 3 points, but then they went on a 6-game winning streak, beating Providence. Again, I'm going to give them that. Providence was a decent team. Maybe a little overvalued. Net rankings, maybe a little, I forgot where they ended up in the net rankings, but probably shouldn't have been ranked. But they were top 20. That's enough to put them in the conversation. Well, yeah, we're not talking 23rd, 24th, or 25th. They're 20th. Maybe they belong there. Again, rankings don't mean shit. I know that, but that at least adds some kind of accolade to a team that can be ranked at any point in the year. And they beat St. John's, DePaul, Villanova, right? And then they beat Providence again in the later on, and they lose to Marquette 70-68 to close out before the tournament, right? Before the NCAA tournament. Didn't beat anyone worth note in my opinion, other than Providence and Marquette in the month of February. That's still not easy, right? I'm not saying they had it easy. I think they're a little bit overvalued, or I shouldn't say that. Maybe going into the tournament when people, who was it, Jay Bilas, who said that so far UConn's the most impressive team in the tournament. I mean, I would argue the team that just beat the 1 seed to advance to the Sweet 16, who stomped Illinois out of the Big Ten, who everyone was telling us all year long the Big Ten was the premier basketball conference. Getting past Illinois, getting past KU, finding a way, digging down deep and beating, again, the defending national champions. I would like to know where Jay Bilas would have that, where he would have Arkansas on his list. I don't think he mentioned that or talked about it. UConn is good. They are playing really good ball. I'm not trying to take anything away from them, but I do think there's this hype up because of what they did in the month of February. And I really think, okay, they beat Marquette. That is impressive on the 7th. Providence, I don't think, had any business being ranked. And they lost the last matchup to Marquette by 2, 70-68. And again, they don't have, other than that, any real notable wins in the month of February. I mean, how many games did they play in February? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games. They went 5-1. No, hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, they went 5-1. I need glasses. I'm telling you guys, I gotta get my glasses back. I broke them, but I should probably try wearing them anyways. But there's nothing. It's not like they swept. It's not like they beat the hell out of Marquette. And they lost to Creighton, 56-53 by 3. They still had that disastrous month of the ending to December and the disastrous month of January. But we know it's about when you get hot. They got hot in February going into March. They did, despite that loss to Marquette by 2 points. They're hot. Sanagu's on fire. This guy, again, 7 times this year, he's been their leading scorer and their leading rebounder. If they score 20, if Sanagu scores 20 points, I think there's something like 7-0. It's going to be a tough game. I mean, they're a good basketball team. They're a really good basketball team. Kansas, I thought, was a really good basketball team. Would you take KU over UConn if this were the matchup? Boy, that's a tough one. I don't know. That's tough because UConn has a combination of things. They have a combination of size. They have unbelievable depth. I think I would take UConn over KU. They've got depth, great guard play. Sanagu, who's he's been crushing it. He's their leading scorer and their leading rebounder through their first 2 tournament games. Iona, he had 28 points, 13 rebounds. I think overall you would probably call that his best performance against a quality opponent. I don't know Iona was a 13 seed. I don't know what you make of that, but it's one of his at least top 2, top 3 performances of the year. And then he goes on, he does something similar to St. Mary's where they win 70-55. He has 24 points and 8 rebounds. The guy almost averages a double-double through the first 2 rounds. By the way, this game is on CBS, 6:15 p.m. Is that our time? You know what? I didn't think to look at that. Is that our time? Is that Central? That's our time. Yeah. The spread started out at 3.5. It's up to 4 now in favor of UConn. Boy, this is, yeah. Go back to live chat here. Look at this. Hit free throws, rebound, cut turnovers. We are the team to beat, says Philip. I believe UConn actually finished higher in the KenPom rating than Kansas. I think they did. I think you're right. I think I would take UConn over KU. They're such a matchup problem. We have fantastic commentating crew for this game. Kevin Harlan is an absolute legend. Philip says yes. I don't know what you say yes to. Are you talking about the time? That's our time, right? Is that what you're saying yes to? Pretty sure that's our time. 6:15 tomorrow. I sure hope it is, or I'm in some trouble. Brian Frazier, who's a member. Since UConn has bench, you think we might see some of the other guys a little bit just in case they are needed before foul trouble gets started. I will say how he manages rotation it's just, again, going to be fascinating to see. Because, yeah, if the concern for me is keeping your bigs out of foul trouble, keeping Walsh out of foul trouble in this game. It's a tall task. Devo cannot play the final 7.5 minutes with 4 fouls. He can't do it. I don't want to see that happen. If that happens, it's going to be really tough. If it was a bench warmer, Oates would have suspended him. Oh, 100%, Connor. 110%, man. 110%. Did I get that right? Was Connor the UConn guy? Did we get that confirmed? I'm trying to scroll up here and look. Unfortunately, I can't just search what you've said. Connor McGrail, are you the UConn guy? Because if I remember right, you were pretty cool. The one UConn guy we had in chat was really cool. I am the UConn guy. There he goes. There's our UConn guy. How's Hog Twitter treating you? Are they nice? Because I know there's some guy riding around in Arkansas making fun of like our poor towns. Newsflash, we're a poverty state. We're poor. Especially, get down to the Delta. It's just that's the truth. I know that might trigger someone. It's the truth. We've got some issues in this state. We do have Northwest Arkansas, which it's funny. I don't see that guy driving around in Northwest Arkansas a whole lot. And listen, there's some parts of Northwest Arkansas that aren't gorgeous. I'm just saying, drive through the Ozarks, Boston Mountains, go through, drive out through Madison County. Watch out for the, just watch out. Just watch out. Listen, man, it's okay. It's all right. Some of that was all right, maybe going a little too far. But, whatever. Arkansas, Mississippi, dirty South. They're part of that dirty South. That's right. Razorback Rock says if we just keep driving to the basket and we are healthy enough to play our good defense, we will win this game. Brian Frazier says my birthplace is Hot Springs. It's nice. I've never been to I've never been to Hot Springs, man. I've never been. I got into it with one guy saying Walsh is better than Sanagu. Listen, you're doing well if that's the worst that happened to you on Twitter. You're doing pretty well. I can't say that South Arkansas is all the purdy. Down there in Star City, baby. Listen, man, I've said it before. I think the most diehard fans are from those parts of the state. The most diehard Razorback fans. There are some hardcore fans in NWA, of course, where the university's located. But outside of NWA, man, I think those are the most diehard. I love them. When I was down in Little Rock a couple years ago, I had some awesome conversations, man. Oh, man, we're down here in the Delta, bro. We're representing. We got these dumbass LSU fans and Mississippi State fans. Like, we represent. I loved it, man. I loved it. Those are the most diehard people. I love it. I have Arkansas winning it all, says Evie Tiller. We ain't got nothing but fields and beat up roads. Bro, listen, I'm from Fayetteville, and there are parts, especially South Fayetteville, where I'm actually from, over there riding up and down Cato Springs Road, old 6th Street, which used to be 6th Street, now it's MLK. That's where my roots are, man, right there. That's where I'm from. We weren't rich. We were We were high class, low class, middle class, whatever you want to call it, baby. We could hear them hogs from our house over on Custer. Ty, the Dan Harley payback. His brother beat us in 1990 in Final Four. Oh, okay. I'm from Madison County. Love my hogs, says Roger Morris. I've got family all over Madison County, man. Marble, Wesley, Wesley, Arkansas. If anyone has ever been through Wesley, bro, you know what I'm talking about. You blink and you miss it. Got family all up and down there. All my family's buried in Cherry Creek Cemetery right there in Wesley, Arkansas. Oh, Ralph Baker. Yeah, some of you right there, you know who I'm talking about when I mentioned Ralph Baker. If you don't know who Ralph Baker is, look him up. Google him. I'm telling you, one day there's going to be a series about that guy, either on Netflix, Hulu, whatever. Someone's going to be ballsy enough to make that. And there's a book called When Money Grew on Trees. Some of my family knew Ralph Baker. I'm telling you, man, that it runs deep. I feel you. Fayetteville, Arkansas look beautiful at night. Yeah, Fayetteville, Arkansas is gorgeous at night. When you're on 49, you know, you're on the other side of the tunnel and you're going through and you finally get through West Fork and Greenland on I-49. You come up and there's Fayetteville at night. Oh, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. I've flown over years ago when we flew to St. Louis. We actually took off that Fayetteville airport. It's so pretty. Northwest Arkansas is gorgeous. Does UConn's team seem small to y'all? No. Well, certain areas. We're getting on. I'm sorry. We're getting on talking about Arkansas. Listen, when I talk about my state, man, I can't help but go on. I love talking about my state. Right now, points per game, I think they're pretty legit. They're top 35, top 40, depending on – pretty sure I had them at somewhere in the top 40. They're 78, almost 79 points a game. Pretty good rebounding team, arguably the best offensive rebounding team in college basketball, one of the best. Of the teams that remain in the tournament, I think they are really good at crashing the boards. They're not giving up a ton of points. They move the ball really well, great ball movement. There's, what are they, top 20 in assists. See, I want to say they're at about 64, 65 maybe points a game. They have the pieces out of that Big East, man. Again, I'm telling you guys, don't sleep on Big East basketball. They represented this well this year. Big East is legit. I would argue they're one of the top three. Some might even argue the top two. They may not have that meat in the middle, you know. They may not have that solid meat in the middle. I would argue that the SEC did, but how many of them advanced this far into the tournament, right? Arkansas was in that middle. They were in the meat. They were in the middle of the conference. We know truly that talent-wise, they're top two in this conference. And I think what's funny is, and maybe I shouldn't say funny. What's bizarre is you're without those two guys that make up that talent when you talk about Brazil and when you talk about Nick Smith Jr. Nick Smith has not shown up in the tournament. And this is clearly a good thing, or it could be a bad thing for UConn. He's taking it personally, right? We saw him after that game. He's crying in the locker room. His teammates were talking about how he knows, he feels like he's letting everybody down. It might be a bad thing for UConn. Because if Nick Smith finds it if Arkansas finds it on the offensive end of the floor, they play their perimeter defense like they have all year, UConn loses this game by 10 points. I mean that. If they find themselves like they did against Alabama earlier in the year at Alabama, I realize UConn beat them in the head-to-head, but that was when. That was where. Arkansas did this at Bama. We know they have it in them offensively to be a badass team on the floor. If Nick Smith and Devo and Ricky Council, maybe a little splash of Jordan Walsh underneath, getting those cutbacks, getting maybe 10, 12, 14 points, that would be incredible. Finding ways, if they get it done outside in the perimeter, UConn is in some serious trouble. Devo can splash. He could shoot 3 of 5. Nick Smith could shoot 2 of 4. Ricky Council, probably more of he's going to drive the lane more. Nick Smith can do it all. He could score from all 3 levels. He could finish at the rim. He's not afraid to drive. He's got a clean 15-footer, got a clean little fadeaway. We've seen it a few times, and he can knock down the three ball when he's feeling it. If they bring their A game on the offensive end of the floor, they won't have to play elite defense. Their offense will take care of the rest. The problem is we've not seen them do this consistently. And that was one of the reasons that held me back from saying this team is going to advance. Imagine if Nick Smith took what happened in this tournament personally and made it his goal to put this team on his shoulders. Arkansas is going to win the whole damn thing. And I mean that. There's just too much talent, too much experience between Devo, Kamani, Ricky Council. There's too much. These guys know each other now. Again, I would argue the issue was when Nick Smith came back, they finally turned the corner, and Nick Smith came back at the wrong time. And that's weird to say, as badly as we all wanted him back. I was one of them. I was telling you, if he comes back, this is going to be huge. He's got to have more games under his belt, and I still feel like that should have been the case. It was square peg, round hole for sure when Nick Smith came back, but we have seen them at least twice figure it out on the offensive end of the floor, just not consistently. Twice in that amount of time doesn't equal consistency. If they find themselves, UConn doesn't stand a chance. I'm telling you, there's too much talent on the floor. UConn's got depth. UConn has incredible depth. Sanago looks, I don't know, man. I mean, he looks better than Sheboy. I mean, this guy is going to be a real problem. Their depth is going to be a real problem. He's not the only thing, right? Net rankings, these guys finished actually one spot ahead of KU. If you look at the net rankings, they were 7-6 in quad one. I mean, Arkansas beat Kansas, who had 17 wins in quad one, right? They also had a quad 2 loss, a quad 3 loss. They finished 10-2 between their quad 2 and quad 3 games. Again, they were one game above 500 in quad 1, whereas Kansas, all in all, was probably better during the regular season than UConn, but UConn postseason has been better than KU, which is why I would take UConn over KU. And again, they finished one spot ahead of them in the net rankings. God, it's so hard to argue with net rankings right now. Even though Kansas fell and they're not in the Sweet 16, it's still, when you look at these two teams and look who you got to play back-to-back, right? Looking at their starting lineup, someone said, do they look small? Well, I don't know. They've got this freshman Alex Caravan, 6'8", 210. Jordan Hawkins is one of their, a prolific guard, a guy that can score. Really, he's your next guy up who you need to be concerned about. You can argue he might be the biggest concern. Who you put on Jordan Hawkins is going to matter. Probably going to be Devo, might be Jordan Walsh, who's going to match up with him size-wise. But this is a cat that averages 16 points, 4 rebounds, and assists, shooting about 41%. Hawkins is the real deal. 6'5", about 200 pounds. He's the real deal. Watch out for number 24 in that Husky jersey. I got a lot of respect for these cats, man. Tristan Newton, 6'5", I saw another site that actually had him as a tall 6'6", 190 pounds. He's another guard, right? Andre Jackson, another guard, 6'6", 210. And then, of course, Sanagu, who's going to primarily play around the post, 6'9", 245 pounds. The dude looks like a defensive end. He looks like he could line up for Georgia at defense. He is a monster. Again, 17 points, almost 8 rebounds a game. He could take games over. Have to drive the lane and get him into foul trouble quick. Ricky Council, Devo, these guys draw a lot of fouls. I thought I read, and I thought I heard this too, that they finished somewhere like the 220s in fouls per game. It's not good. They are foul prone. A lot of that's because they can afford to do it, right? Their depth is a killer. I'm telling you, their depth and Sanagu and Hawkins are going to be the reason why these guys excel. You get Sanagu in a little bit of foul trouble and you're thinking, we're all right. Then they have this guy, Donovan Clingan, 7'2", 270-pound true freshman. Doesn't get a ton of minutes. He's from Bristol, Connecticut, by the way. 6 rebounds, 7 points, 65% shooter from the paint. He's their true 5. They might run him and Sanagu out on the floor. I don't know. You're in a lot of trouble if you don't cool these two cats down. If you can't crash the boards with these two cats on the floor, you're in a lot of trouble. I don't suspect they're going to play them both. It's going to be a rotating thing. If Sanagu gets in a little bit of foul trouble, who knows what they do. They've kind of mixed it up through the season, but Klingon is a problem. Doesn't average but something like 15 minutes a game, right? Does get into foul trouble pretty quick. It looks like he's averaging about 2 fouls, and you consider his minutes, that's foul trouble quick, right? It's going to be interesting to see how they balance those two guys out, Sanagu and Klingon. But the Twins, Kamani, they're going to have their hands full down low. Kamani, who's your offensive rebounding master, good luck. That's all I'm going to say, man. I don't know how to feel. I feel like you're going to get out-rebounded quite a bit on the offensive boards here. Unless the Mitchell twins, and again, Kamani, all these guys on the floor have to play really, really good. I don't suspect Arkansas's offense is going to go off. I just don't. We haven't really seen them go off in 3 straight games at any point in this season. Well, I say that. I know there might have been, against lesser opponents, but you know what I mean, against a team like this and who you've played. Again, Illinois, Kansas, and now dealing with UConn. UConn might be the best team out of this side of the bracket. I don't know. This is a tough bracket, man. I mean, it really is. I kind of already went over that, but, I mean, you've already had TCU knocked out. St. Mary's knocked out by UConn. The Zags knock off TCU 84-81. Now you got the Zags playing UCLA to advance to take on the winner of Arkansas and UConn. That's what you're dealing with in this bracket. I think UConn fans would agree. I think it's the toughest bracket. And listen, this is Arkansas's fault. When you play like shit and you are as inconsistent as they've been, it's why you're seeded the way you are. It's why the matchup, and eventually you were going to play good teams in the tournament, right? If you advance. But Illinois to start things off with, that's a tough matchup. And then KU matchup number 2. And now you got to play UConn, and then you're only going to advance to either the Zags or UCLA. Any of these teams, I think, including Arkansas, when they play at their best, are capable of winning the whole thing. I can't say that about the other brackets. I feel like, and this probably won't be right, because, again, then you're really into that whole matchup dispute. But I feel like anyone out of this, whoever wins out of this bracket, makes it in, I feel like they're going to win the whole thing. I mean, if I'm being honest. And I know that sounds crazy when you're talking about an 8 seed. Arkansas might be that team out of the bracket who you would probably put in the middle or at the bottom in terms of winning it all out of the bracket, if you want to talk like power rankings or whatever. But then again, that's just based on what they did throughout the regular season. We're not talking enough about Musselman. That's why I'm picking Arkansas to upset UConn, because Musselman just figures this shit out when it looks overwhelmingly like the other teams got your number. You look at how that KU game went. Someone told me, I was having a conversation with someone, Arkansas played like they were perfect against KU. That's why they won. No, they weren't. They played like shit in the first half. They were settling for jump shots. They were settling for threes. KU pulled them out of what they do so well, which is driving the lane, getting to the free throw line, playing aggressive defense and attacking the boards, getting a little bit of bench progress. Walsh doing his thing, Devo doing their thing on defense. That's how they had to win that game. Ricky Council shooting as ridiculously as they did at the free throw line. I'm going with the Hogs because my brain says, dude, it's going to be UConn. UConn's going to win this game. And it's not a heart thing. It's a Musselman thing. It's that thing in the back of your head that says, yeah, but Musselman, he finds ways to win these games. He finds ways to win these games. I'm taking Arkansas just because of the must factor. You give him this kind of time to prepare, he wins these games, hands down. When you look at the past, his tournament history, he's a monster. He knows how to get to the Elite Eight. He knows he's going to find your weakness. Now, does this have? I would argue this almost feels like Baylor, if anything. If UConn were to beat Arkansas, I'd probably take UConn to win the whole thing, if I'm being real honest. Only because UCLA is slightly gimped. I don't know that, if it's not UConn, it's going to be one of those other 3. One of those other Zags or UCLA. That's what I'm feeling like. But again, I think it's going to be Arkansas. I think Arkansas wins this game. Muss is the X factor. I'm telling you, UConn probably looking down on us this year. You look at our record. you have to start looking at Arkansas from a March standpoint, from their past. Yeah, it's a different team, but you still have Kamani and you still have Devo. Devo has played out of his mind. Nick Smith has not played his best game. I would argue Arkansas as a team hasn't played their best game. Now, if they come in and they start off slow and Arkansas gets into foul trouble, UConn plays clean ball, you know what I mean, officiating is what it is in college basketball, then you're in trouble, right? I don't know when you look at depth-wise, you can manage a double-digit comeback in the second half against UConn. They're going to have to come out strong, quick, stay out of foul trouble, get them in foul trouble. I think if Sanagu gets into foul trouble, that will create problems for UConn. Imagine going into half with him with 3 fouls. 2 fouls is asking a lot. I think the guys had 2 fouls through the first 2 first 2 games in the tournament. Hogs are a lot better in close games than UConn, says Razorback. Says Razorback Rock. I remember last year's Gonzaga video. Let's go. I haven't seen who they have played. Klingen, I'm not sure what you mean by that. I don't know if, again, you guys are probably off on your own. But how are their bigs? Footwork, though. Watching the UConn St. Mary's game back, it was all 21 down low and threes. Gonna need to get 21 in foul trouble quick and contest the threes. Here's the other thing. I think Arkansas is one of the better perimeter defenses in this tournament. They're one of the better perimeter defenses in this tournament. That's going to create some matchup issues. UConn gets into foul trouble. That's going to create some matchup issues. Now, you have to still you have to play up to your strengths in this game. You have to provide the bonuses, right? You have to provide all the positives in this game. You've got to shoot 75, 76, 77% the free throw line. If you do shoot threes, that's not a good sign if we're talking about, well, Arkansas tried 20 threes in this game. Probably going to be a loss, I think, if you're in that category, if you're in 20-plus threes. Unless you're making them, you're going to want to be at like 40% outside. You're going to want to try and stretch that floor, and that's something we've talked about over and over again. The only way, and that's what Arkansas, they fell into that trap, and I thought that was the right route at the time to stretch the floor, knock down the perimeter shots, knock down those 15-footers. Arkansas has shown, well, if we can't do that, we're just going to drive, and get to the free throw line, like Musselman's done the last 2 years, and that's how they've gotten to the Elite Eight. That's how they've managed to make these runs into the tournament, and they're knocking down their free throw shots. They've done that in these first 2 games. They're shooting, on average, throughout the tournament right now, 78%? I mean, what? This was a 68% free throw shooting team throughout the regular season, most of the season, sub 69. Listen, to do that against UConn, to get to the free throw line shouldn't be as big of a challenge. It might be. I don't know. They're not good at staying out of foul trouble. Sanagu through this tournament has done a pretty good job. But UConn's going to need all of their stars in this game, I think. Now, I don't want to talk about scenarios. I don't, because this could get ugly. This could get ugly for Arkansas. And I would argue that if again, they don't play to their strengths and do the things that got them here, if they play even a B+, B- showing on the floor, UConn could beat the hell out of Arkansas. I think they avoid that. I think it's going to be a physical game. Big East is a physical conference. I've watched some of their games. I watched some a little bit yesterday. I was watching on my phone a little bit. They're a physical conference. They're not afraid of the physical, and that's why their depth is what it is, and that's what gives you pause for concern. If they maybe had a couple less of those guys, if they didn't have that 7-3 guy coming off the bench, the center, you'd feel a little bit better. And even still, you'd be a little concerned. You're very concerned with their bench. You're going to have to get them going into that thing early in the late in the first half, early in the second half. You're going to have to get them into some serious foul trouble, I think, to win this game. And I think that's what they do. Musselman has shown, again, you give him this kind of time to prepare, he's arguably one of the best coaches in the country when you give him time to prepare. His record speaks for itself. Now, if we're going with that scenario that Arkansas does get past UConn, Is it a coin flip game? You bet your ass it's a coin flip game. And if it lands on tails for UConn, I think UConn, if they do win, it's going to be big. I think I don't know. It could be a physical low blow kind of game, or low blows like real physical down the paint, not the other way around. It could be a physical, tough, tight game, and UConn finds a way. That depth, again, talking about their depth coming off the bench is what gives you concern. I don't think they've played against an Arkansas this year. I don't think they've played against a team. I don't think they've played against a March caliber team in Arkansas. And again, when we talk about the talent, whether or not Nick has shown it on a consistent basis or not, I'll argue he hasn't. I think we all agree he hasn't consistently shown it. But if the talent does what the talent is capable of doing, I think Arkansas could win this thing pretty easily. I feel if I had to guess a score, and again, these guys defensively are pretty good too, right? They're good on both ends of the floor, man. Their adjusted defense is really good. It feels like a 74-70 kind of game. It would be a close win for Arkansas. But if UConn does win a close game, I'd be more surprised at that. I would probably say if you didn't give me a score and you just said UConn won, I'd say UConn probably won pretty easily. That would be my guess, right? Plus 10, 12, 14, whatever. But I think Arkansas, again, I'm not going to doubt Musk going into this game. Just too much time for him to prep. Too much time. And Arkansas has a little bit of depth. Someone asked if we're going to see some faces. Well, we did see a couple of guys on the floor against KU that we didn't expect to see play in that game. You had Pinion, who came off, and now they didn't do anything. I don't think they even registered like a minute, maybe 2 minutes. I think you could see some other pieces here because they're going to try and do what they need to do to match up with KU. Yeah, Mikal ended up with no minutes. Pinion did see the floor. Ford did see the floor, but technically they weren't on the floor through when the time lapsed. So, but we did see some guys play. Mostly, you saw Graham come off the bench and get 5. Mackay had 19 off the bench. Mackay and Mikal are going to need to be fresh this whole game. I feel like the glue guy this year who's kind of done it all for him and seems to do better, especially on the offensive end of the floor, has been Walsh. Walsh is going to have to do his thing in this game, man, and he might come off the bench. He got 33 minutes against KU, 10 points, 3 offensive rebounds, 2 steals, just 2 turnovers. He did end up fouling out. If you can get a 33-minute production like what we saw, not in terms of stats, outside of his offensive rebounds, you're going to love 3 offensive rebounds. But if we get the same kind of hustle and the 10 points, don't get me wrong. If we get the same kind of hustle and execution, and those are quality minutes for Walsh, if they get that out of him. If if Ricky Council and Devo go off for almost 50 points between the two of them, like they did against KU, yeah, this is going to be trouble for UConn, right? Again, if Nick Smith, you can't have him on the floor for 16 minutes and no production. That dude, 16 minutes, 0 production outside of a rebound and 1 assist. No turnovers, but 2 fouls. And that's something else UConn's going to want to keep an eye on, is if Nick Smith finds his groove in this game. Again, if he does, it's going to be really tough. And I think Arkansas by a little. I do. And I think that's how this thing winds up, finishing out. I would love for them to shoot better than 3 of 15 outside. I would love for them to shoot better than 41% overall, and they're going to have to, I think, to win this game. But they shot almost 81% at the free throw line. They were 21 of 26, right? They've done pretty good at the free throw line in the tournament. Illinois, they shot, 70 – what was it? Pull it up here. 75.9% at the free throw line. Going to need to see more of that to get past UConn. I think they do. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a tough, physical game. Fouls are going to rack up in the second half. It's going to be a long game, but I think Arkansas finds a way to pull it out. There you go. DePaul, Providence, St. Mary's ain't the Hogs. I think tournament Hogs are something you have to – you look at the regular season, you might as well throw that out. And you could say the same thing about UConn. They got off to a really hot start, and then the end of December into January, they really struggled. And then they kind of found their groove. The problem was that wasn't all upper echelon, right? That wasn't Tennessee and Alabama right? A&M, I think A&M would be top 3, top 2 in that conference. Alabama would win that conference, right? Tennessee would probably win that conference. It wasn't against that caliber of teams. And I'm definitely not trying to put UConn down. I'm simply saying that those games serve more for UConn from a we can do it mentality, right? Like we've found a way and we bounced back. I think that's what those games serve. But on paper, not all those games are real great wins. A couple of them are nice wins for them, for sure. Confidence-building games. But those weren't against upper echelon teams. But I'm going to tell you, this team looks like they did in the first part of their season throughout the tournament. Now, they've only played, I think, one quality team in St. Mary's in the tournament. Arkansas, I think, has played two really good, one really high-tier team and then a pretty good Illinois basketball team. And I think they've had the tougher stretch. I think they've played a tougher February, and then you go into the SEC tournament. Again, I think A&M got a poor matchup in the NCAA tournament, and that's why they got knocked out when they did. I still think A&M probably would have finished top 2 in that conference. A&M finished top 2 in this conference, and this conference is, I mean, according to the net rankings, is as good as it's ever been. Now, I know the net rankings haven't been around for very long, but still, I mean, you know, look at the amount of teams that got in and look at the amount of teams out of the SEC that advanced to the Sweet 16. 3 teams out of the SEC is not – those aren't rookie numbers necessarily. So I think UConn is playing like they did to start the season, which is a problem, and I think Arkansas is playing their typical Musselman March basketball, which is a problem for UConn. That is what makes this such an interesting matchup. Is two of these teams are playing their best ball at the right time, and that's what makes this game fascinating. If UConn wins, I think it's going to be a blowout. I think they win pretty easily, if I'm being honest, because that means Arkansas, they get into some foul trouble. Guys get into foul trouble early. It forces them to play different defensively. We've seen what kind of impact they can have on Arkansas. You go back to the Tennessee game. A couple other games in conference play early in the year. When they get into foul trouble early, it forces them to play different defensively. They're not as willing because they know they got to stay out of foul trouble. I don't think they have the depth that UConn has. I just don't think they do. UConn has you there. Size-wise, Arkansas might have a little bit of an advantage. Length-wise, they have a little bit of an advantage. But again, Musselman, Devo Davis, Ricky Council, Walsh, they're all doing it, and they're doing it on a big stage. And I think they continue to do that. Now, we'll assuming, again, like I was saying a little bit ago, if you do get past UConn, I think you end up with UCLA. And you guys know how this goes. We'll address that when we come up on that game. If that game happens, this is a coin flip game. I'm siding with Arkansas by a small margin. They're going to have to stay out of foul trouble, and they're going to have to get UConn in foul trouble. They're going to have to get Sunagu into foul trouble. And then you got that 7-3 guy to deal with. Can't take this is as tough of a game as Arkansas's played all postseason under Musselman, no matter the game, no matter the tournament, SEC tournament or NCAA. This is a tough one. Again, if UConn wins, I think they win pretty easily. I don't know that I see a close win for UConn, because I think if it comes down to a close game, Arkansas they have found a way. These last 2 games, they've shown me, and especially under Musselman, they can win those type of games. You go back to the previous 2 years. You look at Devo, the way he's played in these NCAA tournament games. I just think they dig deep and they find a way and they win the close one. UConn wins the big one, right? If they do win the close one, more props to them. You know, it's gonna be fascinating to see. This is a really fascinating tournament. A lot of things on the line here. Alabama, maybe their best season ever, right? Tennessee, maybe their best season ever if they can finish things out. UConn trying to find the glory. You know, they were once upon a time ago, like Arkansas, one of the premier teams in college basketball, right? UCLA trying to fight their way back in it. When you look at the bracket and you look at our bracket again, can Gonzaga finally finish things off? If they get past UCLA, kind of makes you wonder a little bit, right? I think UCLA wins that one. That'll be a good game. A lot of things on the line for a lot. I mean, clearly everyone's got national championship on the line here, or an Elite 8 appearance on the line. Of course, that's the first thing that comes to mind. But it's a good tournament. I mean, this has been a good tournament. It's been one of the best tournaments in recent years, which is saying a lot. Nick just needs to be Nick. Well, I mean, I would love for Nick to be the Nick Smith that we thought we were getting out of high school, right? And that's not a knock on him at all. He's really had to face some adversity since getting here. You know, I would like for Nick, again, if Nick, and it's not just Nick. Like, Nick can't just be the only one going off. It's got to be everybody. It's got to be everyone doing what they've done so far plus Nick Smith. That's why I said if Nick Smith finds himself and the rest of this team continues to play like they have throughout the NCAA tournament so far, Arkansas, they win the title. They win the whole thing because now the talent is speaking for itself, which it's not done at all this year, at least on the big stage or in big games. They've not done it. We know they're capable of doing it. But again, if Nick brings his game up to where we think he could play, we haven't seen it. And if again, these guys, Walsh doing what he's done defensively, I love listening to him talking about, and his teammates and Musselman talking about him loving to the rebound aspect of the game. He wants to be a rebounder. He wants to be a guy that can set things up. You know, he wants to be that guy who plays defense, who can play. He could guard the 1 through 4 in most cases. You know, that's what makes him such a pivotal part of this team and why they're going to need him big time, him and Devo. If Devo plays like he has, I mean, anything's possible, but I have a hard time seeing Devo not play another big game on such a big stage. You know, Ricky Council doing what he's done through March so far. Again, what these guys have done through the NCAA tournament, if they continue to pack on what they've done right here, right? They're all right here. Devo maybe a little bit ahead here scoring-wise and everything else. And Walsh kind of being that glue guy, roll guy, whatever. And then Nick Smith comes up here and plays what we think he could play. Arkansas by double digits. I really feel that. I think they can win the whole thing because then the talent is speaking for itself. Then we're talking about, okay, Arkansas is the most talented team in this tournament, and it's speaking volumes right now. I know Brandon Miller in Alabama will have something to say about that, right? UCLA loaded up. But we've not seen Arkansas's talent live up to its name yet. Not all together and in a game this meaningful. If that happens, I would take Arkansas every team left. The only team that would give me pause for concern might be Tennessee because defensively that team is on another level. So, all right, the Odd Soul poll, we're going to put a stop to it right here. We're going to end it. A lot of votes on that one. You guys agree with me. 84% of you say yes, the Hogs advance to the Elite Eight. 15% of you say no. We just have so much unknown on our team. And yet they've won the last 2 games, Paul. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, they have found a way. They've dug deep. Now, again, if UConn brings its A game and Arkansas brings its B- game, I would take UConn double digits easy. That's what's going on here. I think that's the realistic what we're looking at. People are underplaying how significant it is to miss that many games. Yeah, I agree. And then get to speed. I think Nick is what everyone thought I think Nick is what everyone thought he is. Just needed a little more time to fit in. Again, Tristan, it's about showing that, though, right? We haven't seen it on a consistent basis, which is what would lead you to believe, right, coming into the tournament that we would be seeing that, and we just didn't know, which is why it was so hard to pick Arkansas to advance. I hear what you're saying, and I think he can be that. I certainly believe that Nick is going to be a guy, well, I think he could be something special at the next level. I would love to see that happen here. I don't know what Casey said, but he deleted his comments. I love this momentum. It is great for this team. Let's make history tomorrow. What was me says, I'm worried about coming out a little flat after an emotional Kansas win. The thing is, you've had a little bit of time to get over that. Knows Musselman and Devo and Kamani. They're going to know that we got to get these guys right. You're right. There could be some of that hangover, that big win hangover. You know, that could be the case. I don't disagree. But I feel good knowing you've had this kind of time to prepare. Jason Greenbaum says, I think Nick is just struggling with that injury, which is throwing off his confidence and timing. Yeah, I feel like if it were that serious with his knee, he wouldn't be playing. I mean, I know he missed practice, right? I know he missed practice. And maybe the knee is really bothering him, but I don't know. And if that is the case, he may not get many minutes against UConn. UCLA is my second favorite team, Hogs being number one, of course. I hate that matchup. Not our talent or potential, though. I have them meeting up in the Elite Eight with UCLA winning. UCLA is going to be a tough draw. I too, I have in my bracket before it got completely wrecked, I have UCLA at the time, not knowing Arkansas would get past KU, but I had UCLA advancing and losing to Houston in the Final Four with Arizona and Kansas State. So 3 of my Final Four teams are still there. Arizona, though, I picked to win it all. Damn it. All right, that is it. A special shout-out to all the sponsors, Direct Service Overhead, the Odd Soul, the Apex Tattoo Studio. All their links can be found down below this video. Again, I don't plan on a Friday show at the moment. Now, that could change. But we will have the post-game show that will be available. And I look forward to seeing all you guys. Patreon supporters, man, again, big tip of the cap. If you're a Patreon supporter, double check. Make sure you're still good. I don't know how many times I get a DM like, hey, oh, no, my card expired. Oh, no, I just want to hit 50. I just want to do it. I've never done that before. I want to cross that line with 50. That'd be so cool. That's definitely not something I thought I would, as the couple of years ago when I started Patreon, I did not think I'd ever cross. Hell, I thought I'd be lucky to cross 20. And here we are, 50 as of today. If you want to join Patreon to make sure I get across that line, here is the link for you. I really need to get some quick here you go, copy paste, boom, there you go. If you want to join the Patreon to make sure Ty crosses that line, you go to that link and you sign up. It's just $4 a month. If you're a Discord, and you need to get in on Discord for sure, but if you do that, if you join Discord, you get access to the recruiting. We have a whole room dedicated to just Patreon supporters where we talk about recruiting, the transfer portal, what I'm seeing and hearing. I kind of get into that some of the time in that chat. You also have exclusivity content there on the Patreon page that is not accessible unless you're a Patreon supporter. There's a couple, I think there's at least 2 videos right now that are not available to the public. So, yeah. All right, Must said after the game that this team is getting better and better. I want to go with that. There you go. I mean, they are getting better and better, and that's the other thing. That's what his teams tend to do. You've got to erase, both with UConn and Arkansas, you got to erase what they did in the regular season. It's about who they've matched up with, how well their stars are playing, and who they are as teams in the month of March. Arkansas, history just shows with Musselman, you give him that kind of time. You give him that kind of time, he wins these games, and that's what I'm going with. I think Muss is the X factor in this game. I think it's going to be Arkansas. It's going to be close, but I think I like Arkansas. Again, if UConn wins, I feel like it's going to be a blowout kind of win for UConn. So, yeah. All right. I'll see you guys tomorrow night on the postgame show, 5-ish or so minutes after the game. All right? Woo pig. And I'll see you guys tomorrow night. Go Hogs.
This Razorback team stepped up big time.
Oh, man. Let's go, man.
Oh, yeah. You deserve to take your shirt off. Hey. You deserve to take, because they could have easily folded in when Kansas made their run in the second half. But the line. That was led by Debo Davis. The little things.